Hey everybody, Charles from HumbleMechanic.com. Today we're going to be talking about the impact of modifying your car on your vehicle's warranty. This is episode 87 of the Humble Mechanic Podcast. So, as you can see, you got me in the Passat today, and oddly enough, we're going to be talking about modifying your car and what that does to your vehicle's warranty. But before we get into the show, let's talk about the sponsor of the day, which is Rain Eater Wiper Blades. So, having good clear vision out of your windshield is incredibly important. One way we can make sure we do that is to have a good quality wiper blade. Wiper blades are also one of the easiest DIYs out there. So if you want a great quality wiper blade at a really good price, check out Rain Eater Wiper Blades at raineater.com. I actually have them on my Passat right now. So I get this question a lot. Charles, if I modify my car, will it have any kind of effect on my vehicle warranty? And the answer is, it may. I also have to throw in a disclaimer before we get too deep into the show. This type of thing is really done case by case. So if I mention something on the show and you tell them that Charles said it would be covered, I can't approve any kind of warranty. So I just want to throw that quick disclaimer out there. The big thing about modifying a car, especially a new car, is what type of impact does that have on my vehicle's warranty? Generally, when you modify a system of your vehicle, the only thing that really would be impacted would be the suspension. So let's say we install coilovers on our vehicle, and 2 months after we install these coilovers, our vehicle develops a popping noise while we're driving. We bring it into the dealership, we say, hey, we have a popping noise. They take a look at it and find that maybe you left a bolt loose, or maybe a sway bar link is broken. That's something that's not going to be covered under the warranty because it's directly affected by the suspension modification that you did. Just like if you put a radio in and wind up hooking it up wrong and melting a bunch of wires, that stuff is not going to be covered. You put big wheels on your car and it rubs a hole in the fender liner and, say, damages an evap line or something, that's not going to be covered under the warranty because your modification directly caused the failure. But let's say you modify your suspension and your radio stops working, odds are that's not related in any way. In addition to depending on what system has been modified and really what the modification was, a lot depends on where you take it. It depends on the dealer, it depends on the technician, and it depends on the vehicle overall. So you could take your vehicle that, let's say the ECM is tuned. This is a really good example because it's really one of the more common modifications. I would say intakes, lowering springs, and ECM tunes are probably the most common things that we run into. You can take it to dealer A. Dealer A may say, yeah, no problem. No matter what's going on, we're going to at least take a look at it. And until we find that the modification has influenced the failure, we're going to treat this as a warranty repair. Dealer B, on the other hand, may say, we're not going to touch your car until you get these modifications removed, till you have the tune taken out, or you remove the air intake, or you replace with the factory suspension. It really does vary dealer to dealer. Now, even within dealers that may be sort of modification friendly, you may have a technician that's not modification friendly. My dealership's kind of like that. You may take it in and, let's say, get me, which I'm cool. I love modified cars. I think it's great. I think you bought the car. You should be able to do whatever you want to do to it, as long as it doesn't break any laws, like from the EPA or the DOT. But I say mod it up to the stars. Just remember that saying, you really do have to pay to play. So you may get it to me and I may say, yeah, you know what, let's go ahead and figure out what's going on before we decide whether this is a warranty repair or not. You may get a different technician at my dealership that says, you know what, I'm not touching this car, it's been modified, no way it's going to be warranty. It also depends on the modification itself. If you put an aftermarket radio in, 99 out of 100 times, I don't care. The times that I care are if it's been installed wrong, and especially on like this generation car, where the power antenna wire for the aftermarket radio would be plugged into the K wire, and it would bring down the entire communication bus, so you'd plug the scan tool in and couldn't talk to it. Well, now that's a problem. Now that's a problem that's been directly caused by a modification that's been done. Something like that's not going to be warranty. But if you put an aftermarket radio in, and now you got a creak in the suspension, well, there's really no way those two things can be related unless you have, you know, a 15-inch subwoofer in the back causing your suspension bolts to rattle loose. I know that's a far-fetched thing, but, you know, anything's possible, and I try and not talk in absolutes when it comes to that. There's absolutely no way that could happen. So again, it really all depends on where you take it and who gets your car. Now, there's also the manufacturer side of it. There's the manufacturer side that would maybe flag a vehicle that's been tuned. Volkswagen, in our repair manual, stamps the car as TD1, which means that the ECM has been modified. So let's say I modified our Tiguan, for example, then had a check engine light. I may bring it in and it may be flagged saying that I really don't have any kind of ECM warranty. Now, depending on what the failure is, we may have to even call Volkswagen to say, hey, look, this guy's got an issue with the evap system or an airflow system. It's not the ECM, it's the sensor failed. So at that point, it may not matter where you take it. It may not matter who works on it because the manufacturer has flagged it. And as we move forward with new ECM software and new versions of engines, manufacturers may start clamping down more and more and more. There's that whole big to-do about laws being passed where you couldn't tune an ECM, only the manufacturer would have access to that. You're basically buying the rights to use it, not buying the hardware and the software. So I think as we progress with technology, a lot of these things are going to be monitored tighter and tighter and tighter. There's also another thing that comes into play. Let's say we put an air intake on our vehicle, and let's say we have an unrelated issue. The water pump's leaking. Well, now as a technician, I have to do more work, let's say, to take off this air intake. It doesn't have anything to do with the water pump leaking, but you may actually be charged a little bit for the technician to work around the modification that you made. You know, if your car slammed on the ground and we have to spend 20 minutes trying to get it up in the air just to do an oil change, you may have to pay a little extra for that. Again, that all comes back to the old saying, you gotta pay to play. So what it all boils down to is this is definitely a case-by-case issue. It's not something we run into a lot at the dealership. Generally, when you get cars that really have been heavily modified, you know, stage 2 upgrades and coilovers or air ride, they don't end up coming into the dealership, or they go to a dealership that they know is modification friendly. And while there's probably a good handful of dealerships that are very modification friendly, heck, even some of them are APR authorized dealerships, I would say by and large, most of them aren't modification friendly. One thing that you really need to understand is that every repair as a dealer tech that I do, I have to justify to Volkswagen. I have to have documentation saying, here was the issue, here's what I found, here's what it took to make the repair. Let's say I do all of this work, I have all my documentation, but when I upload the log of what I did, it's flagged as the ECM has been tuned. Well, now Volkswagen knows there's something that's up with this car. They may find a red flag that pops up that says, look, this repair was made, but this tune can directly cause this fault. We're not going to cover it. So now the customer's fine because they've already got their car fixed, but now the dealership gets charged back. I get money taken back as a technician. So that's why when you deal with modified cars and dealership technicians, a lot of techs are really scared because they don't want to get paid for a job, do a bunch of work, and then wind up 2 or 3 weeks, a month later, getting that money taken back. So I think it's important to understand it from a technician side, why a lot of times we're really standoffish about working on modified cars. Not to mention all the information that we have is based on a vehicle being in factory condition. So when you add an intake, it changes values. It may change airflow meter readings. When you add an exhaust, it may change O2 sensor readings in an unknown way. And that can lead you on the wrong path when it comes to diagnosis, especially fuel trim type diagnosis, system lean, system rich. And there's even more that comes into play when you start dealing with extended warranties. For the most part, extended warranties are great. They don't care. They authorize the repair, we fix it, everybody's happy. You know, the customer pays their deductible, maybe, maybe not. Everybody wins, but let's say that extended warranty company sends an adjuster out. Well, now an adjuster comes, inspects the car, finds that it's been modified, they deny the claim. You spent a bunch of money on an extended warranty, and now it's not going to fix this problem with your car. And I would say extended warranties are probably going to be even more critical about a modified car than, say, a normal dealership or a normal manufacturer warranty would be. So it all boils down to this. If you want to modify your car while it's under warranty, I say go for it. You spent a lot of money on that car, and if you want to modify it, modify it. It belongs to you. Just understand that there's a lot of things that can come up that you may not foresee, and you may be stuck with a repair bill due to a modification. Or wait till your car's out of warranty. Then it's not a problem. Modify the hell out of it, have fun, enjoy it, make it exactly like you want, and you don't have anything to worry about. But if the modification directly impacts a failure, it's not going to be covered. If you tint the windows and then your window starts making noise, it's not going to be covered. If you tint your windows and your check engine light comes on, well, those two don't really have anything to do with each other now, do they? So the question of the day, should manufacturers cover modified vehicles no matter what? All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up there. If you have any questions or comments, post it in the comments section below. Hey, if you like the video, throw it a thumbs up on YouTube. I always appreciate that. You can also subscribe on YouTube or on the blog at humblemechanic.com. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the blog, and obviously on YouTube. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Oh, I don't have a beer of the day. I don't have a root beer of the day, which was a really slamming idea. I have Thai food of the day.